Number one thing to know about your market is an average price per square foot. When I say your market, I mean like really know the differences between towns. Like if we take your market, like my market is New Jersey. Okay, if I just had to call like my main market is the state of New Jersey. In the state of New Jersey, just like every state, you're gonna have the parts that are class like AAA that are unbelievably great, beautiful, super high price per square foot for both sales and for leasing. And then I have areas that are garbage. You could probably have a tough time selling a 12 cap. Very low price per square foot and very, for sales and leasing. And you need to know that like the back of your hand. So when you're speaking to somebody, which I'm not saying you're going to know right now, I'm talking, and the beautiful thing is like, look, I'm very understanding that like, look, I've been doing this 10 years. I'm young, but this is all I know, right? And math and memory, the only thing I got out of school, okay? Like, so like I got really lucky with those two things, and it helps a lot in this industry where I have a very good memory, so I have a very good understanding about the markets, and I can remember that fairly well because I talk about it 24/7. And then when it comes to the math side, it's like, okay, well, I know as soon as he goes, hey, I have a 20,000 square foot industrial building in X location, I immediately know price per square foot, do the math, and I can kind of come to a quick number in my head of like, okay, it should be in this range. Knowing your price per square foot in your entirety of your market. And even if, dude, I'm not even kidding you, ready? You got this, this wall behind you, right? You literally can print out a map of the towns and go, here's the price, and just have a pencil. Price per square foot's now changed. Now here it is, this is what it was last month. And you can literally look at the map right in front of you. And you can keep a spreadsheet, however it's convenient for you, but you need to be looking at like at once a month, whenever they do it, or whatever you want to do it is fine. And you just look at the last 30 days of sales. Where are you? Sales and leasing, to be more specific. You look at where everything's at. The average price per square foot. And by the way, not only do you have the differences of towns, but then you have in the town, you're going to have Class A properties that are brand new construction, what they sold for and what they're leasing for versus existing product and crap product. And you're going to want to track all that. And you don't need to memorize it, right? I'm not telling you to memorize it. Obviously, over time, you'll just get it. Like it's second nature, like you have with the fire alarm side, right? Where you just know it. But in the very beginning, I just want you to start looking at it, going, oh, okay, like right now, if you chose what's one town, like where do you live right now?
North Central Connecticut. So my market, Connecticut's small. And so I'm licensed in Connecticut and Massachusetts, but I'm 20 minutes out of Hartford. And I'm literally 15 minutes from Springfield, Mass. So I'm right between two cities, and I go all the way down New Haven, all the way up the I-91 corridor through New England.
So how many counties is that?
Connecticut, we have like 5 counties, plus the one in Springfield, there's like 6. So like 6 counties.
So your market's 6 counties. I would rip those 6 counties to and take a day, like a few hours, like a 5 or 6 hour day, not during your prospecting time, but every other moment you have available where you can actually just sit on CoStar and rip through spreadsheets and look through the data and understand like, okay, hey, this county has 7 cities in it. These 7 cities are this price per square foot for leasing, for this range. The top end is new construction, the bottom end is this. And then all the sales, it range, the price per square foot is top end this, bottom end this. And I know that like, okay, you're going to start building ranges in your head. And you're just trying to build this, this perception of this area and going, okay, next time I cold called somebody who's got an industrial building in this area, I know range. Because then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, okay, you talk to somebody. Like today, one of my guys brought me a 50,000+ square foot warehouse in a in a very good location, 40-foot ceilings. And I already know of 2 guys specifically off the top of my head. I'm like, I know 2 people who would look at this deal and they would both look at it completely differently. One guy's a hedge fund, runs a huge family office, raises hundreds of millions of dollars a year, buys this type of Class A product all the time. I know what price per square foot he buys. This guy gave me a price per square foot that he considers selling for. And I already, without even looking at much of the numbers, I'm like, okay, hey, make an offer for $10 million. Because I already know I can sell it for substantially more money. Because the last thing I want to have everyone do, like I was telling Ryan at the very end of that time, I don't want you to have to run a spreadsheet on every deal first. You're only on the phone with this person for a few minutes. You don't go, hold on, let me plug in these numbers while we're talking. You don't have the time.
Yeah, no, and that's one of my challenges is the speed, that conversion speed of taking the data from a property and converting it to see if it's a deal or no deal and kind of relaying that to that client of like how to negotiate that. I got to get better at that, but you're right. You got to be able to do it quickly.
That's why especially with retail and industrial, very 2 simple asset classes that are very price per square foot and price per square foot lease, not only sale, but also lease driven. Where like, you already know, like, listen, if we just call a spade, okay? If we just rounded everything, let's say we just round, there's this big assumption. We're just gonna make assumptions together. In your marketplace, if you saw a deal that was, what what kind of cap rate do you go, I could sell that tomorrow, probably no question?
Above eight to 7.5 to, a 7.5 up.
Fine, 8. So just say an 8, right? So fine.
Yeah.
8. What price per square foot would you need to sell it for, roughly, or below? You need to be below a what? Like roughly?
150.
What you just said is the keys to everything. So anytime you find a warehouse and you're on the phone with them and you can quickly get some quick numbers and you can back into a number that's below $150 a square foot and above an 8 cap, you have a deal.
Yeah.
Why are we not just making offers at what you already know to be a deal? And I'm not saying you just offer an 8 cap and a 150 a foot, because that's like that's the line. Obviously you want to be below the line so you have some buffer. I see, this is the pattern I started realizing. It's just like with residential single family flipping, right? It's like, hey, I know if this market, if I could resell it for 500 and it's listed right now for 250, you just buy the deal. There's not another, you're not questioning a bunch of stuff. You just buy it. In commercial, I just thought the same way. I'm like, hey, like, why are we skipping all these other, like, why are we missing this? Why are we going, I already know where I need to be on this deal. Like, everything's very cookie cutter for the most part, not every deal. But once you start having generalizations where like, hey, like this range of property in this location with this income at this price per square foot, it's a deal. I could probably sell it and we're going to be good.
Gotcha.
And that's the lens I try to look through every deal first, right? So anytime my guys bring me a deal, I'm immediately like, okay, this market's this price per square foot and this rough cap rate. Where do I need to be? So everything I was doing in that spreadsheet was just the more elaborate version of it, right? And I'm just trying to back into the number. But in my head, immediately, I'm thinking that way immediately.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. This is another obviously reason why they say, you got to focus on a certain asset type, because if I'm an industrial guy and I get presented multifamily, I'm like, shit, I don't know those stats right off the top of my head, So it's like you got to just focus on certain assets, which I'm trying to do. But, at times other asset types come through my way. I'm like, I'll take it because I'm trying to get a deal.
And listen, like it's just another language you got to learn. And look, I didn't start off by knowing all of them like I do now. I started in multifamily. It was easiest for me because I was already selling smaller multis and I was like, oh, it's just another unit and then another unit and whatever. So and then all of a sudden someone threw a retail building at me and then an industrial building at me and then an office and then this and then a car wash and a liquor store and all of a sudden gas stations, hotels, right? Like now all of a sudden you got to keep learning these different languages, but they're not drastically different because essentially there's a lot of similarities and you just got to figure out those.
So are you more of a generalist or do you like to say you're a specialist?
I'm not a specialist. I'm a specialist in investment sales. My specialty is finding very good deals in any asset.
Investment sales and whatever asset type.
Correct. For the most part, the art is the same. Like I am trying to find discounted assets for my investors. As long as I know how to underwrite these deals, right, and where the market is and how to evaluate these properties fairly quickly, I can figure that out in any asset class. I'm not trying to help a seller, right, trying to maximize their value. I'm not doing that. That's not my intention. Now, obviously, if I'm referred a deal from I say this all the time, if I'm referred a deal from my close friend, of course, I'm going to treat it just slightly differently. Right, I'm not going to just try to beat you up on price, but at the end of the day, if the seller agrees and the buyer agrees, that's market value.
Yeah, see, it's a little different. Like, how do you handle when you're dealing with like the user owners, because they're like technically not so much investor mindset. They're more like, I need this for my business. It's more like laid out.
On the buy side or the sell side?
The buy side. Like if I go to a person,
they'll pay a premium. They'll pay a premium. And I try to tell them, like, listen, like, if you're planning on acquiring this building, especially to occupy it for yourself, like, how long do you plan on being here? 20 years? It's like, okay, well, then, to be honest, why are you beating this guy up on price? Like, you need the space to operate your business. Let's offer a price that we know we're going to get the deal done at and call it a day. Because it's like, how much money are you losing every day you don't have this space, right? And you do the math. It's like, oh, okay, so you're losing 10 or 20,000 a day that you're not open in this new location? It's like, what are you trying to negotiate 200 grand off the price? It's like I'll try to get a good deal, but it's like, pay the price. Let's go.
And then when you have sellers who are users and they're occupying the whole building, do you find it a little challenging to find their motivation because they're actually using it for business? Like, what is that? I mean,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, look, the thing that I feel like a lot of people miss is that everybody's in a different place. We specifically, Howie, like at least, I guess I'll even just speak freely for myself. My intention is that we facilitate transactions when they occur. When a seller is ready to transact, I'm going to be there. But if they're not ready to transact, right? It's like, like all these realtors are trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. They're like, why won't you transact? Right? It's like, they're not ready, which is why I'm such an animal about lead generation, right? It's just like, listen, you're going to prospect and you're going to come across people who are possibly open where price is the biggest motivation. Well, yeah, if you pay me $10 million for my $3 million property, I'll sell. You call me about a couple of my properties, which I have no intention in selling right now, I'm going to tell you a stupid number because I'm price driven in that regard. But once all of a sudden, most of the time, most people eventually will hit a point or a breaking point of motivation where it's no longer price driven, which is where I try to find people. Because if you can find people who are no longer price driven and it's an external motivation, you are going to find the best deals. Period. End of story.